Are we live?
Got the champagne. Everybody get a glass. Let's start it off sexy. What do you say? And all the ladies say. And all the ladies say. I think I like that.
Welcome to Champagne and Conversations, Mr. Wendez. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for joining Champagne and Conversations.
It is a pleasure, man. It's an honor just to be on here. I love what you do, love your platform, your energy, your vibe. I just love boss ladies in general. So
Oh,
for
thank you.
me, I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm already having a good time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And we'll make certain that we get the champagne over to you. I know that I was a little bit nervous about sending the minister the champagne, guys, but he will get, he will get the champagne. Yes, no problem. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm excited about what you have to share with us. Today, guys, we have Lynden Wades, and he is here to talk about not only spirituality as it relates to just your everyday walk, which is something that I just am so excited about, but also to share with you credit and tax strategy in order to be able to get your portfolios ready for 2021. Of course, we've had a little bit of a detour in 2020, but it's okay. We've all been doing the homework and we're getting ready. So we're here today to talk and get some good information and glow. So thank you so much. With that, I would love to just open up the floor and have you to just share with us just how you got started in this industry and your passion for credit and sharing people, the information that you have.
Awesome, man. And thank you so much. Again, I just want to give it back to you. I really just admire what you're doing. And I just know a lot of folks are getting a lot of good meat out of this, a lot of value. And that's what it comes down to. For me, it's all about, how many lives can you change? How many people can you position to do much better than where they are right now? And you're definitely doing that. So I just see this thing just going all the way to the top.
Thank
I'm very
you.
excited for you and excited to be on here. So my story is pretty simple. I like to give a little background as to who I am, so I'm not a
Sure.
stranger. I was born in Jamaica, the island of Jamaica, grew up in the Bronx, and I grew up pretty poor. There were times when we always had some of what we needed, but never had everything we wanted. And that's just the reality. Going to bed without food wasn't by choice, but based on circumstances. But as I got older, I recognized that our circumstances and our situations don't determine our destiny or success, but they become ingredients of who we are and ingredients of our story. So I just appreciate what my history is, where I'm coming from. And I started working in corporate America. I started at the bottom, built a very successful career. And it came to a point where, our daughter, she's 7 right now. And when she was 4, she got sick suddenly. And so she was in multiple hospitals in multiple states for several months. And she lost the ability to walk, talk, eat, and do all the things that she was capable of doing. And so at that moment, I recognized that this 6-figure career that I created and I built was taking away the most valuable asset from me. And that was time. And so I decided that I needed more time for myself, more time for my family, and more time to position a lot more people to be very, very successful, and just started with people like me. And so that's what brought us here today. And I'm just very excited, man. I'm very passionate about positioning people to win and changing lives. So that's a little bit of history in terms of what
Now,
brought.
how is your daughter doing now?
Oh, she's healed 100%.
Yes, I wanted you to say that. I thought I saw her wrapped around your arms one day. So she is great.
Oh,
Awesome.
she's amazing. And the
Yes,
reason
yes.
why I particularly went in the direction of just credit, taxes, and financial education is that I went to 3 colleges and have 3 degrees on 3 full scholarships. And I'm not saying this to boast. You'll see why I'm saying it. But after graduating from my last college, I had a 524 credit score. And so I could not understand, how is it that I went to 3 colleges, didn't have any debt, and still graduated with a 524 credit score. And no one taught me about credit, the power of credit, or anything regarding financial education or financial literacy.
Well, why did you have the 424?
What was that?
Why did you have the 524? Was it because you hadn't used your credit at all? Developed
No,
anything on the credit line?
I fell in the same trap that all college students fell in. You know, I went to Sears and I got a credit, got approved for, I think it was
So
25,000.
you did use it.
And I
Okay.
maxed it out. And
Okay.
I thought I was $25,000 richer, not
Oh, okay.
understanding how credit works. And I maxed it out. And so you have a guy that is highly formally educated, but also highly financially illiterate. And there's nothing attractive about that.
Did you pay the bill or you just kind of ran the credit up and just let it sit?
So I did pay some, but
Okay.
then, you know, it got to a point where I just couldn't keep up, and life happens.
Life happens, absolutely. So now you are actually offering, which I think is amazing, a program for individuals while we're in COVID, while we're preparing for the top of 2021. And what is the name of that program you're offering?
So the program that we have, what it does, it helps people get their credit from where it is to where it needs to be. It's
Okay.
the protection plan, and it's a full suite of financial services, not just credit restoration, but credit monitoring and credit attorney and credit builder, which is the financial literacy, asset management as well, debt payoff, budgeting,
Wow.
even the YFL, which is the youth financial literacy. So we're educating youth from now so the future becomes very predictable in a positive way. And they won't be in the same position that I was in at that age, but they're going to be in a much better position.
So 1 million people, and they are moving towards financial literacy, and you all are building that as people sign on to be able to be a part of that. So let us know where we can actually get that information, your social media, your website. They can DM you, all of that great stuff.
Correct. So I'm very accessible. You Google me, you're going to find me. If you go on Instagram, you'll find me as well. I'm very active. Facebook, the same. I speak directly with people all the time. My direct number is 786-505-0270. That's a cell. And I'm all about educating people. You educate to elevate.
Yes. Educate to elevate. And you and I connected as we, I guess, determined through Attorney Crump and some of the posts and such that he had been posting. So we do appreciate his connections in terms of, you know, just using his platform. And then here we are to be able to share to others. So I am thankful for that as well. And so your classes, are they like 2 weeks? Do they just go on for months? How does it work in terms of what people would use to actually get their credit started?
So typically people will, once someone becomes a part of the program that we have, they will have access to all the services. There's an online platform, there's an app as well, because we want to get people involved. You see, it's interesting because I work with a lot of clients who said to me, hey, I got my credit fixed 5 years ago or 3 years ago. And my first question to them is, why are we having this conversation right now? So the numbers went up, but the education remained the same. So it's either the absence of financial literacy or limitation of financial literacy. So we just want to get folks involved so they understand what those numbers mean. So within 45 to 90 days, typically you see results. We've removed over 2 million negative items from clients' reports. And we encourage our clients to plan for a 3 to 6 months process. There's a lot of different information out there, a lot of stuff out there, but to do this the right way, it's not magic. It's not like going to Disney World and a genie pops out and they kind of hook you up the next day or next week. Now, this is a real process for real people that need real change and real results to do real things. And that's what we're all about.
Yeah, and I explained to you that I know there's so many people out here that are building credit platforms where they say we can do your credit, we can do it in this amount of time. And I was actually one that trusted a source and lost a lot of money. It was even more than it is now in terms of the, the cost of it. So doing the homework, guys, and being able to understand what it is all about and trusting that the people, the sources that are offering the services will actually deliver is the reason why I'm sharing um, this contact with you guys so that you will have a reliable source in order to be able to work through your credit, whether it's great and you just want to maintain it, which we call that often leverage, right? Yes.
Yes.
So let's talk about where that would be in terms of now, because we're at the fourth quarter and I have a lot of meetings with my staff and my people about leverage. So let's talk about what that would look like as it relates to those people that are good with their credit scores.
Absolutely. And you're so right about that. When you think about credit and what it does, there are three key terms to really think about. One is leverage, the second is access, and the third is opportunities.
Absolutely.
That's really what comes to mind when you
Yes.
think about credit. Now, for me, this is what I say. You don't use credit to fund your lifestyle. You use credit to build the life that you envision for yourself. And
Like
there's a
that.
big difference there. See, credit is much bigger than just having a credit card that you use every day. That's not what credit is. That's a credit card. That's revolving credit. It's a part of the bigger picture. So when it comes to leverage, you got to be very specific. You got to be very strategic as well. And you got to make good choices and hold yourself accountable. Be responsible. How do you leverage credit? Leverage credit for the big things. Maybe you're going to furnish your house or you're going to get a car. You need your first home, or you're going to send your kids off to college to change the trajectory of your family and build legacy. And it doesn't matter where a person is right now. Those things, aspiring to be better, aspiring to be their best self, aspiring to live your best life, it doesn't matter who you are, that resonates with you. And so we can have that conversation with basically anyone, but going out and just buying stuff at Target or Walmart and just online shopping and just on a daily basis, that to me is not leverage. Basically, what you're doing is just using credit cards to fund your lifestyle, and that becomes very complicated. That's something that will run away from you in a split second, and it becomes hard to keep up.
Yeah, I do understand. And I think that, right now we have such mixed messages as it relates to where we are and what we're doing. As we were talking about, for instance, the stimulus payments, when those come in, actually understanding from a literacy perspective, what we should be doing with those in terms of, do you just use it like it's a tax benefit and you just go out and spend it and do what they expect us to do, which is to, give more back to the economy, and then we're all back to square one again? Or do we plan for the future and put it somewhere where it can elevate, whether it be, accessing more credit or accessing something that will enable the lifestyle even more, as opposed to just for that moment, living in that moment. So with that being said, what do you suggest if in fact another wave of the stimulus comes out? What do you suggest in terms of, the way people should access that or utilize that?
That's a very good question. And it is so good because that's what most of us do. We get a lump sum, it doesn't matter the amount. And the first thing we do is wanting to enjoy it today. And by tomorrow, it's gone.
Right.
That's just what we do. You see, one of the things that I recommend, which the pandemic kind of did for us, it's crazy because chaos creates opportunities. It really does. And so with the pandemic, you have two options. One, you can focus on the problem, or two, you can become a part of the solution. Now, are people really hurting? Absolutely. I talk to them every day, and I'm telling you, it pulls my heart because people are in bad situations.
Yes.
And so I understand that, and my heart goes out to those folks as well.
Absolutely.
But on the flip side, you have to be very intentional. What the pandemic did for us, it helps us to value time. Everybody has time. What do we do with it? Funny enough, we all got the same amount of time. None of us have more than the other. But a lot of us will spend our entire life
The way
buying
we
time,
use it.
paying for time, wasting time, trying to get back time, don't know what to do with time, but we all have the same amount. So what we have to do is start investing in ourselves. Invest, and that term is key. Not spend money on ourselves. We start investing in ourselves, because investing means that there's a return on investment.
Yes.
And so we got to get out of the microwave mentality
Mm.
where you only put in something in the microwave because you can see it. You're looking at it and you know that, okay, it's getting warm now. And if you can't see it happening and it's not going to take 5 minutes or 30 seconds, you're not going to do it. You see, that is not a formula for success. You have to understand, okay, invest in me now. I can start a small business. I can do something with that I'm passionate about. I have talents. You know, there's so many options out there. And if you're on your phone, if you have one of these phones, I tell people, if you have one of these and you ain't making money, then this is a dumb phone. It's not a smartphone. You have to find a way to really just get some residual coming in. It's not, you don't have to go, you don't have to be, Silicon Valley kind of person to do that. Just be intentional, be creative, put some stuff away for the future, put some in savings. You can invest in small things. That's going to make a lot of difference. Anything online right now, people want that because of social distancing. And
Yeah.
just be creative. Take risk on you. We spend our lives risking it all, paying other people's mortgages. How about risking it for you for once? You can do it.
And so I'm going to take a little bit of a detour for a second in regards to the pandemic and where we are in a spiritual perspective, because guys, I did reference the fact that we do have our spiritual guidance in this room as well today. And we want to just tap into one of the things that you and I were talking about before we actually went live, which is understanding where we are today from a spiritual perspective, which also contributes to our overall investment of health and wealth. And I would just like to be able to get a moment of clarity from you as it relates to the spiritual perspective, because obviously you have to be in a line to think properly in order to even make great decisions.
Correct. So for me, that is great. And what I say is this: it doesn't matter who you are. When everything else fails, you got to find something to brace yourself. You gotta be able to brace yourself in some fashion. And with the pandemic, it has really made that clear. Let me share something with you. I know I started this off and I spoke about our daughter, and this is real. It is so real. And man, every time I talk about this, it just brings me back to my knees. And, I remember when our daughter was in the hospital, and she's a very healthy child. She has never been sick prior to this. And this happened real sudden. And we were in the hospital, and this is the condition that she has called autoimmune encephalitis. Okay. It's inflammation of the brain. So it's like your brain just literally went on fire, and everything is based off your brain. So most people that have had that condition never made it. And the recovery is not great because they were treated psychiatrically rather than neurologically. The symptoms are very similar to psychosis. And so I remember when we were in the hospital, and because it's so extreme and there's only 2 handfuls of doctors in this country who are trained to deal with this condition, there were times when you have to be aggressive in doing the treatment. And we prayed and we prayed and we prayed and we prayed, and she got worse. And we got to the point where we're increasing the aggressiveness of the treatments. And I had a conversation with the neurology department. And the head of the neurology department said, we got to do this right now. We got to do it quick, and we got to act quickly. We have to be aggressive. And I said, you know what? Let's hold on a bit and just give God an opportunity to step right in. Because you see, a lot of times you have to understand that God created God's speed for a reason. See, we do things in our time, but there's something that's called Godspeed. Understand what that is. And when you understand that, it makes a big difference. And so the team wasn't very happy about what I said, but I said to him, hey, listen, man, the bottom line is we're not home praying for a daughter. We're here in the hospital, which means we believe in medicine. But we also understand that there's a higher power that can help your team to do much better. And so it didn't resonate well with them, but that was fine. And I'm telling you, our daughter is one of a very small percentage of individuals who have ever gone through that particular illness and came back to being 100%. Her neurologist is the #1 pediatric neurologist for this condition in this country, and he was speechless. There were times in the hospital where the doctors were coming in so we can hold hands and continue to pray. They're saying, whatever you're doing,
they wanted that
to do it. It doesn't matter what your belief is. It doesn't matter what you call it. When everything else fails, you must have something to brace yourself. That's just the way it is. What do you use to brace yourself when you don't have the answer? When everything seems to crumble, when it gets tougher and tougher, and you got to be able to brace yourself with something. It's your mindset, your spirituality, and you have to understand that sometimes you just let time runs its course as well.
Absolutely. That was beautiful. I hope you all understand exactly what was being delivered to you guys today, because that is just an amazing story. And I'm so very thankful that she is 100%. And we are thanking God for that blessing over you all. And even those that you moved in that time was amazing, just in them understanding that there is another source that they can just lean to sometimes when that medicine may or may not be. And often we hear those stories in those rooms where miracles are happening. And this time we really should hear a little bit more about them, because the pandemic has people scared. People are losing family so often lately that, you know, the numbers are climbing. We just don't know when this is going to end. So, you know, having a connection to a source, power that you believe, place that you can quietly pray, whatever it is, connecting with those folks that can help pray for you, is all beneficial. And just, as I call it, growing and glowing, and being able to just have a better you and investing in yourself, which goes in alignment with what you were sharing as far as the credit part and then in the spirituality part. So thank you for that story.
You're right, man. And real quick, you're absolutely right, because you see, when you tap into that source that you're talking about, you get that outpouring. And so now you start to glow with the flow because of that energy that just flows through you. And I just like that whole thing that you put together, the glow. It just makes perfect sense. You glow with the flow. And you see, that flow is energy. That flow is blessing. That flow is good things. And it is tough in these days with families and you know, family members. But think about the good things and the good times. It doesn't matter how terribly it looks, it's going to pass.
Yes. So getting into 2021, what are some of the bullet points? What are some of the notes that you all are doing in terms of sharing with your team, your classes and that, your clients? What should we be preparing for? Because, I mean, like, here we are at this point, October, and, you know, everyone starts to get ready for the new year, and we're hopeful that next year will be better than this. So what are you all sharing for us in that?
So a few things: be very responsible. That's important. When you get into this time of the year, a lot of folks get into the holiday, you know, spirit. And once you start thinking about the holidays, you start thinking about what? Spending.
Yes.
And as we know, with what 2020 has been, the situation and the reality is not as it was coming into 2020 out of 2019. So this is a time where you appreciate genuine love and affection and providing value to your family rather than the boxes that are wrapped as gifts.
Yes.
So don't fall into that, that traditional phase where now you're thinking, I haven't been able to go see my grandparents physically and I got to get them this gift. I got to buy this. I got to send this, knowing that the cash flow coming in wasn't as great as you expected it. So what happened? You have to be very responsible and very strategic. So now just show people you love them. Just pour into people, a phone call, maybe a nice card, but don't try to go out
there. He
there.
said card, not car.
You're right. I did say card, not a car. If you're in a position to provide a car, then by all means, but I did not say car. I say card. Yes. Thank you. Just a nice card with something of value, something sweet. Let people know you appreciate them. But trying to get the biggest box for the biggest gift and just, all these traditional celebration. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's a time and place for everything.
Sure.
And I think this is a year that have shown us that time is more important than anything else.
Absolutely.
And now that you have time, you love on the people that surround you. You love on the people that you appreciate. And you show that there are many ways in showing that, whether than racking up some bills on a credit card, just going on Amazon or going to Target or Walmart. Sure. Just be very responsible, be very strategic. And here's the other thing. You have to start 2021 right now. Because most people that actually set these massive goals and wishes that they have in the new year, we know by the time it gets to April, it dies down. Yeah. So you have to start your 2021 right now. How do you do that? By looking at where you are financially, looking at where you are in your life, looking at your family, looking at where you are and where you want to be. Where do you envision yourself being? And so when you do that, write it down. We write lists of gifts that we want. So why can't you write down your vision, write down your goals? Because when you write it, it becomes real and you hold yourself accountable. So write down the things you want. Are you renting right now and you need to be in a better apartment? Are you in an apartment and you're thinking of being a first-time home buyer? Are you thinking about getting your first car? Are you thinking of getting your kids to the right college so they can get the right education? Have you ever always thought about owning a business and being an entrepreneur? What is it? What is it that is driving you and drove you in the past? Maybe it died down for a little bit, but what is that? This is the time to really come to oneness with yourself and say, seriously, what is it that I want? What is it that I can do to position myself to be in a better position? I have a better 2021 than 2020, than 2019. Look at the last 5 years and see how far you have come, how far you have not. And let this be the first chapter or the first page to really positioning yourself and your family to win. And that is really not going out and racking up credit cards to buy gifts. It is much bigger than that. One decision can absolutely change everything.
Yes, and that was just so profound in what you said, because for those that have children that are going into the next phase of their lives, be it high school to college or even middle school to high school, just teaching them now the benefits of credit, which one of my favorite books is Behind You, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that was something that I read that series when I was coming up in my later years. But we know traditionally as a people, we don't learn about credit until we have messed it up. And then we have to go sit in these classes to get it fixed, right? So it's better if we gift the children with the ability to have, whether it be some sort of tutorial or whether it be someone that can help guide them through. They have a small job and they want to just kind of learn what is necessary to get just a small card not to go get the cell phones and all those things that now will adversely affect it later, right? So those things could be better situations or better suggestions for, you know, gifts right now in the December timeframe, and then moving forward for all of us to prepare. Because if there is another pandemic that comes, well, another wave of this, and we're out another 6 to 8 months, I mean, what do we suggest at this point? What are we going to be doing where people are still, you know, limited on work, or limited on the amount of work, or the amount of money that they can actually access, because we aren't doing things at full capacity? So, right, you know, from what you stated in terms of leverage, what are you all suggesting for leverage if we have to weather this storm another 6 to 8 months?
Very good. And you're so right. And that's as real as it is. So we got to start budgeting, because if you have more going out than coming in, it becomes a problem. And that brings up a very good conversation just to talk about cash and credit, or credit card. You see, one of the things that cash does for you, there's no unlimited supply of cash in your purse or in your house. It doesn't exist. There's a certain limitation. So being responsible, also budgeting, not putting everything on a credit card, that is important, because when you go based on the cash, then once it stops, that's it. You don't have any more. You can't say, okay, let me work a little magic and fill this purse up again. It doesn't work like that.
I wish.
We wish there was a tree where we could pull that cash and then we go spend it. It doesn't work like that. So we have to be intentional. There's a shift that we have to make. We have to make a shift from the way we traditionally do things, where we just swipe the card, yes, and we put in the card number without having any second thoughts and think about that. We're now being strategic, we're now being intentional, and we're now being responsible, because none of us, we don't know if there's going to be a second or a third wave. And if that's the case, you have to start living within your means. You know, a lot of us live outside of our means. And I see this all the time. You know, I see it's crazy, but that's just the environment that we live in. But just to try, just try and do some budgeting. It doesn't have to be anything extensive. You know what's coming in, you know what your bills are, and you know what you can afford. Just stay within stay within the guidelines of what you have coming in. And obviously that has decreased for a lot of people. So if it did decrease, then now you got to be very creative. Maybe you're not buying the same brands of stuff that you used to, or maybe you're not shopping at the same places. You know, there are always other places out there where you could get the same quality of stuff, different names, but it's the same quality for less. Who cares? What is important is that you're able to feed your family, you're able to provide on a daily basis, and you're not living a lifestyle you're not living someone else's lifestyle. Never live to impress others. Live to impress upon others what is possible, but not to impress.
That's good. That's good. And just keeping in line with what you said in terms of beyond the means, in case anyone doesn't understand what that means, can you just give us a basic definition of beyond your means?
Absolutely. So beyond your means is this. If prior to the pandemic, you were going 3, 4 times a week, and to eat, you're taking the family out or by yourself, and you're eating out 3, 4 times a week, and you were good to go. You put it on the credit card, you're able to pay it back, because maybe you do the minimum payment because you're working, so you're able to do that. Now that's removed. That job, that cash flow, that income is no longer here. It simply means that you can't do the same thing. If you try to keep up with that and do that very same, whether you're going out physically or you're ordering so it can be delivered, then you're living beyond your means, because the income that's coming in decrease, and you're still doing the very same thing that you were doing when you have that amount of income coming in. Don't do it because your neighbors are doing it. Don't do it because people force you to do it. Don't do it because you want to keep up with the Joneses. No, you don't do that. That's beyond your means. Do it because it's best for you and your family. What is best for your kids? What is best for you?
And if you want to live beyond your means, then the factor of adding to your income is what is essential. And that would be the second type of income, whether it be, you know, a small hobby job or, you know, something to that effect, to be able to offset what it is that you're not being able to bring in.
And you're right. And if they do that, any individual that does that, now they're living within their means because they're improving their lifestyle, but they're also increasing their income. So
chess is what I call it.
right.
Yes, chess is what
Right.
I call it. Yes. And but you hear so very often with people saying, I'm not making enough. I'm not making enough. I am so stressed out. I have bills. And we all have been in that place at some point in trying to align what has to come in versus what has to go out. It takes a minute to figure that out. So when you have now done this for 2 years and you're still saying the same thing, then obviously there's some sort of shift, some sort of adjustment, some sort of mindset that has to happen where, you know, it's like the definition of insanity, right? It's like we got to stop that and we've got to be able to take time and do what you said, which is what? The budget?
Correct.
To be able to figure and factor what all occurrences could happen in a month, to be able to plan for if in fact, because I know none of us were prepared for what happened in March.
Correct.
And only a few might have been able to make it till June before they really started to kind of panic a little bit, you know? So it's one of those things where I just wanted to make certain that you coming on and sharing with everyone the ideology of what's necessary to shift to a better place, leverage, and prepare for what could come, or even just your day-to-day. Now, before we let you go, I do know that you have a program for taxes and you have offices all over. Share with us, please, what you do as it relates to, you know, that and your locations and the information for those that maybe as we walk into tax season in January, the early part of tax season, I guess. Who could actually reach out to you for that?
So you absolutely. I'm going to share a quick stat with you, and this is very interesting. 70% of new entrepreneurs in the United States right now are either African Americans or Hispanics. Now, the two populations that are most highly impacted by financial illiteracy and bad credit are also African Americans and Hispanics.
Right.
Now, out of that 70% that I mentioned, 70% of those are between the age of 22 and 32. Think about that.
Wow.
So when you think about that and look at the next 10 years as to what's going to happen in the United States, both you and I should feel good about this. Because what it's saying is that we're positioning ourselves for a new wave, a new age where we're creating businesses, we're creating employment, and we're building legacies, and we're doing what is called wealth creation.
Yeah.
So how do we tie that into taxes? Well, it's simple. See, for a lot of folks, the American dream is what we're told, that is owning a house. Okay, I understand, because it's an asset, because it creates revenue over time. And because of that equity, okay, it's an asset.
Yeah.
But it's a small fraction of the real American dream. See, the real American dream is tax laws. See, about 90% of the tax laws in this country were created at a time when most of the economy were businesses and small businesses. So why would it favor W-2 employees? It just doesn't. It favors businesses. So to really tap into those tax codes, now you have to start thinking, okay, maybe I should create a DBA. Okay, that's a business. Or maybe I should create an LLC. Cool, because you can't leave a job to your kids, but you can leave a business to them. And when you have a business on paper, now you can tap into some of those advantages. If you just live and every year you're thinking as a W-2 employees, I'm going to file my taxes, all you're doing is getting back some of what you paid, or if you didn't pay enough, you have to pay more. But now if you have a business, you tap into those tax codes And now you're taking massive advantages of deductibles and write-offs and all these things that you can really just take advantage of, and it positions you to do great things. An LLC with a trust is like having a bank without even knowing that you can start a bank. Like what? But I don't want to go into too much details, but I just want to
But it's
throw,
great information. We appreciate this.
yeah, I just want to throw little things out there so people can start thinking, okay, because the information is there.
Yeah.
See, a lot of us, we don't like to read. A lot of us, we don't like to do research. Understand that knowledge is important. Understand that information is powerful, but when you put it into action, you become extremely powerful. Information without action is
yes,
not.
yes, yes,
But information or knowledge with action is success and power. The good book says, without knowledge, without vision, what? The people perish. That's for real. Understand that. So it doesn't, you don't have to have some massive business or some crazy, ridiculous business to start tapping into the real American dream. Just be intentional, man, just wanting better. And when you find people that means well and people that want to provide information for your growth, tap into those people.
Yes, that's the resource. That's the resource that we pray for right now in this pandemic, which is the reason why I say it's just a blessing to be able to have connected with you just via people's platforms and being able to share this information, because it is good wealth. It's good knowledge to be able to keep you strong and not have you in a dark space, not understanding what's next. How do you get out of it? How do you prepare? These are things that allow for you to be strong enough to say, I can strap up and I can keep going. I can get through this holiday without having some sort of remorse. I can prepare for the top of 2021 and just being able to say, good or bad, we got a better situation. And then, just some prayer sometimes just changes things. So I shouldn't say sometimes. I should say prayer changes it all the time. Let me not get that wrong.
Because sometimes you can see it and sometimes you can feel it.
And it is not always in that time, but over time, it would actually start to show. So yes, and all of that, we certainly appreciate your time that you spent in sharing these gems with us here on Champagne and Conversations. Mr. Lynden, we thank you for your time. And again, please share everything with us in terms of your social media and your website so that anyone that has that would like to get the information can.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, let me just say this, man. I don't take this lightly or this for granted, just being on this platform and speaking to this boss lady right here. You got to go with the flow. That's what it's.
Flow with the flow. Yes, I'm going to put that up. Don't worry.
Now, I don't take this lightly. What you're doing, you're changing lives. Trust me, you're impacting a lot of lives in ways that you can't imagine right now. What you're doing is going to create some transgenerational changes, mean generations to generations to generations. And for me, that it means a lot, because if we can impact people right now, we can't expect the change tomorrow. We got to do the impact today so we can grow into tomorrow. And it helps the future becomes very predictable. So with me, I'm very active on social media, Facebook, that's my Lynden Weddis on Facebook. On Instagram, it's Lynden Weddis as well. The good news is my name is very rare, so you won't have any.
Come up.
You won't find a lot on there. So, and then my cell phone is 786-505-0270. My website is there as well, Weddis Enterprise. In addition to that, if you just throw me into Google, my name, you'll absolutely find me on the internet. Man, it's just been a blessing. I enjoyed this conversation. I hope I did what you were
amazing. Yes. Thank you. And we may have you back at the top of the year so that we could just talk about now next steps and, in January before we really get heavily into the month and everybody can kind of do a quick check to make sure they're ready for the year.
Absolutely. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Champagne and Conversations, Lynden Weddis, we have him here and we look forward to having him back. But in the meantime, feel free to reach out to him and cheers. Indeed. We'll get you your champagne too.
Thank you.
Thank you.